Hello, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 9 p.m. English News Edition. Here are the headlines. More than 60 global leaders are guests. In the Mediterranean scandal, the record proceeds 2,600 complainants, 300 lawyers, and 100 witnesses. Hello and welcome again. The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, arrived at 4:15 in New York time to attend the 740th session of the United Nations General Assembly. The head of state is accompanied in his trip with a strong delegation, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, and the Minister of Equipment and Transport, Mohammed Abdul Ghadir. On his arrival, President Guelleh was welcomed by Djibouti's ambassador in the United States and permanent representative of the United Nations, Mohammed Saeed Douali, and his team. During the trip, the President of the Republic will participate in several sessions, including a high-level meeting on the global appeal on the protection of religions and in presence of the President Trump, and the summit on climate action. Will also have bilateral meetings with heads of state and heads of international organizations. And now, under the pressure from young people, more than 60 world leaders are being invited today to reiterate their climate commitments at high level of anticipated UN summit in New York. The United States and Brazil will be the major absentees from this discussion. 3 days after the global youth climate protests, some 60 world leaders are meeting today in the UN for a summit on climate emergency to reinvigorate the flattering Paris Agreement. Less than half of the 136 heads of state and government who are coming to New York this week for the UN Annual General Assembly have asked to participate. Symbol of rebellious youth Swedish Greta Thunberg were invited to give a highly anticipated speech to the leaders. In the gallery, the United States will be the main absentees. Donald Trump will be in the walls but will speak at an event on freedom of religion. And now, Minister of Housing and Environment and Tourism Mohammed Abdul Ghadir participated yesterday in New York at the meeting of the 107 countries supporting the call for action on adaptation and resilience. The minister was accompanied by the Secretary General of his department and focal points of the United Nations Convention on Climate Change, Dini Abdullah, preparatory meeting for the Summit on Climate Action to be held tomorrow with the participation of President Ismail Omar Guelleh. Climate change has been a reality all over the world for several years, and its consequences on populations are becoming more and more important. According to experts from the United Nations, countries have developed their own climate action plans in accordance with the Paris Agreement, but the sum of these is insufficient limit to increase in global warming to a level well below 2 Celsius. This high-level meeting should therefore make it possible to mobilize the necessary funds to deal with consequences of change. For the Minister of Housing and Environment, Mohammed Abdul Ghadir, who spoke at the end of this meeting, the measures taken by our country are important, but the means remain insufficient, and I hope he said that this summit will correct this shortcoming. Prime Minister and Acting Head of Government, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, received in the afternoon of Monday, September 23, Dr. Alistair MacPhail, Ambassador of Great Britain to Djibouti, but with residence in Addis. The British diplomat was accompanied by Mrs. Jane Baxter, Deputy of Head of Mission, and the Honorary Consul of Great Britain residing in Djibouti, Mr. Jane Martinet. On the premises side, the Prime Minister advisor, Mr. Ali Salah, attended the meeting. After the traditional exchange of greetings with the Prime Minister, welcomed the British diplomats, and the later thanked Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed for having received him. Dr. Alistair MacPhail expressed pleasure experienced following this meeting before sharing to wish to develop relations. Other topics discussed during this interview, the priorities of the Djibouti government, including the challenges of development, peace and security. The Minister of Communication in charge of Posts and Telecommunications, Mr. Radwan Abdullahi Bahdan, today received a French delegation led by the French ambassador to Djibouti in his office. This delegation was headed by Lieutenant General Jean-Marc Letapi. This working visit provided an opportunity to discuss the friendly relations between the Republic and France. The visit was also an opportunity for the minister to discuss with the delegation the strengthening of cooperation between the two countries in various strategic areas. This first meeting was full of warmth and sincerity between Minister Radwan Abdullah Badon and the general. And now in the health side, Minister of Health, Mr. Mohammed Warsa Madiriya, received in his office the Indian ambassador accredited to Djibouti, Ashok Kumar, as part of a courtesy visit. After the welcome words, the Minister of Health recalled the secular and historical links between the two and the privileged Indo-Djiboutian partnership in the field of health. The Minister of Health and the Indian ambassador exchanged views on various topics of common interest, including exchanges of experience in the field of interventional and cardiac surgery, nephrology, and visceral surgery. The Indian diplomat mentioned the implementation of a bi-national convention calling for mutual capacity building through intensified health cooperation between our two sister nations. The Indian ambassador expressed his country's firm commitment. And now the Minister of Commerce, in collaboration with the trade organization, organized a training seminar on trade policy in the People's Palace. This ceremony was presided by the Minister of Commerce, Hassan Hamad Ibrahim. Officials from the ministry and representative of the World Trade Organization attended the training, objective to make trade a powerful motor of growth and economic development for our country. This initiative is part of the government's effort to develop trade in Djibouti through the Ministry of Commerce. In his speech of the Minister of the Commerce, he explained that the trade policy was a top priority for the countries of the region and the Republic of Djibouti in order to achieve regional integration in the field of trade. He stressed the need to intensify the effort of the government and the private sector to improve and develop the trade sector throughout the country. He took the opportunity to express his pleasure in sponsoring this workshop on trade policy, stressing its importance for the moment. Therefore, there should be trade policy objectives to ensure coordination with monetary and fiscal policies. In the context of cooperation relations between our country and the Kingdom of Morocco, the Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, accompanied by senior officers of the Djibouti Armed Forces, today welcomed a Moroccan delegation led by Colonel Hisham Alawi. The delegation of 0-tier senior officials is responsible for evaluating the Joint Military Academy of Arta, which is under the responsibility of the Act Chief of the Defense Staff, General Tahir Ali Mohammed. The Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development organized this morning at the People's Palace a workshop to popularize environmental challenge for media professionals. The ceremony was presided over by the Director of Environment and Sustainable Development, Mr. Hussein Rirash Roble, and the Director of Communication, Ibrahim Mir Ali. A number of members of media institutions, including the RTD, the Al-Qarn Nation, who have participated in the environmental training course. The objective of this training is to strengthen targeted national capacity to achieve and maintain global environmental results by integrating and decentralizing global environmental governance. In his intervention, the Director of Environment indicated that the integration of combating desertification and land degradation into national development policies and poverty reduction strategies will make it possible to mobilize financial resources for concrete action. As part of his first working visit, the new prefect of Dakhil region, Mr. Adam Darar Musa, accompanied by his close collaborators from the prefecture as well as the president of the Dakhil Regional Council, Mr. Abdurrahman Yunis Are, and the chief of Dakhil Police Detachment, Commander Daoud Bouhgire, was renamed Sunday, September 22, 2019, to the Aila sub-prefecture. The objective of this visit was first to inquire about the state of affairs and functioning at the Aila sub-prefecture, and in a second case, to contact the civil and customary authorities in this area with a view to consolidating their effort to achieve better results in terms of services provided to citizens. During this meeting, the prefect of the region placed particular emphasis on the maintenance of public order and the strengthening of unity and social cohesion, which is essential for living it together. As part of the contact tour of the new prefecture of the region of Harta, Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, accompanied by the president of the regional council, Ilmi Bouh Goudade, his first deputy, Mohammed Fouzi Ahmed, went to the sub-prefecture of the Damerjog. On his arrival in the Damerjog, jubilant crowd warmly welcomed the prefect and his delegation with traditional songs and chances. The sub-prefect of the Damerjog, Abdi Shahid Noor Yusuf, the third deputies of the Arta region, as well as the young people, the gendarmerie officials, all welcomed the new prefect. After the warm welcome, a meeting was held in the office of the sub-prefect to present and make contact with local notable women in charge of Agricultural Association Cooperative. Then it was the turn of the heads of the decentralized services, school heads, and heads of law enforcement and security forces. The next stop on the prefect of Arta 2 will be the sub-prefecture of PK21 Arta. As part of the preparation for the qualification of the African Cup 2001, the national team of Djibouti arrived on September 2002 in Doha, capital of Qatar, for a 10-day block internship. After their installation of the Hotel of Holiday Villa, the requirement of the sea began yesterday the training in the weight training center to increase the new physically. As such, the national team started training last night in the Mesa Sports Center Academy Football Club, and this training was led by the coach of the national team with his technical staff. This training was dedicated to organize a constructive offensive game to dominate the opponent and better defend against the loss of balls. It should be recalled that the Red Sea Sharks are in constant after their qualification for the second round of Qatar 2020 World Cup. And now moving on the international news, the criminal trial that opens this Monday in France before the Paris Criminal Court is exceptionally its size. So much so that this first day of appearance of the 23 defendants involved in the mediator scandal, an anti-diabetic drug whose effects have caused the lives of hundreds of patients, will be devoted essentially to organizing the 110 hearings scheduled until April 30, 2020, more than 7 months in duration. The instruction file consists of 127 volumes. A total of 4,981 victims were identified. 2,684 of them have filed civil action against several laboratories and the National Drug Safety Agency. Some 100 social security funds are also among the complainants, and the numbers of civil parties may will increase during the very long trial. And this is it for this edition. Thank you for watching us and have a wonderful night.